Bases dropped on a new round of soccer down here. Soccer's morning show. John, hear you there. We are still trying to sort out the issues that I thought were sorted when it came to the 280-character app. Apologies for not being there. And we'll see if we can get that squared away because paid some money yesterday. And we'll see if they come around to our way of cashing in. So we'll see what happens. John, hear you there. And it's a busy morning. It's a Tuesday, so it's Tuesday Thoughts. Anything that is on your mind that we left on the table yesterday, you can bring that in. We're going to spend a lot of time this morning in the NPSL. NPSL playoffs are happening starting off here in the midweek. It's Wednesday, Saturday, and the sprint continues. And we're going to be catching up with Carlos Rubio from Hickory FC. Then we're going to be catching up with Brett Teach, the head coach at Columbus United. They're playing each other in the first round of the playoffs. That is on tomorrow in Hickory. And Columbus United is about to hop on the bus, and they're supposed to be heading to Lenore-Rhine today. And so we're catching up with Coach Teach. We're catching up with Coach Rubio day before everything, and we'll catch up with them and see what's going on. 10 o'clock Eastern time, we're going to catch up with our friends at Duluth FC. Might have a special guest to discuss what's going on in the playoffs in the Midwest. But we'll be drifting in and out of the NPSL. There's a lot of news to get into this morning, news out of Miami involving passing the buck and the blame to what happened at Miami Gardens. And also it is the activity going on in Major League Soccer, news out of Real Salt Lake yesterday. And we do have some stupidity down here to get into in hour number 2. But we're going to start things off wasting absolutely no time. We're going to go with this particular piece of music. It's been a little while, but we do need it. Garrett Southgate has decided he's done. Happened before we woke up this morning, our time. And he says he stepped down because he's admitted it's time for a new chapter. Football Association Chief Executive Mark Bullingham confirmed that the search for Southgate's successor is now underway. Eddie Howe among the front runners, Graham Potter, Lee Carsley, Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Tuchel. Confirming his departure, Southgate released an emotional statement. This is from our friends at The Telegraph, saying, quote, "As a proud Englishman, it's been the honor of my life to play for England and to manage England. It's meant everything to me, and I've given it my all, but it's time for a change and for a new chapter. Sunday's final in Berlin against Spain was my final game as England manager." Bullingham said, quote, "The process for appointing Gareth's successor is now underway. We aim to have our new manager confirmed as soon as possible. Our UEFA Nations League campaign starts in September. We have an interim solution in place if it's needed," end quote. Bullingham added, "On behalf of English football, I'd like to pay tribute to Gareth Southgate and to Steve Holland." Southgate's number one. "For everything they've achieved. Over the last 8 years, they've transformed the England men's team, delivering unforgettable memories for everyone who loves the Three Lions. We look back at Gareth's tenure with huge pride. His contribution to the English game, including a significant role in player development and in culture transformation, has been unique. However, it is his record of winning tournament games which is most extraordinary. We're very proud of everything Gareth and Steve achieved for England and will be forever grateful to them." Word is Eddie Howe is the front runner, but you wonder if Eddie Howe wants a pay cut. Told reporters when he was last asked about it, "I'm totally committed to Newcastle, always have been." This was obviously before Gareth Southgate departed. And so now that's what Eddie Howe is saying. Gareth Southgate is done as the head of the Three Lions, England manager. He is out the door. So he's done. So we'll see where England goes from here. Then you've got all the squad predictions, all of the pundits overseas saying that he needed to stay, which really isn't happening. So we've got that. The biggest news from overseas this morning. Gareth Southgate done with his time with England manager. So now you've got a couple of big gigs. You've got a couple of big gigs that are out there now. You've got England. You've got the United States. And then obviously we'll see where the process lies. But Gareth Southgate is out the door. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ropes. Morning, Tom. Tom says 8 years is a while. Time to move on. We all know how things are here. We are team one cycle, and Gareth Southgate was 2 cycles, 8 years. So very, very. This was one of the questions after the Euros. It didn't come home. Therefore, is Gareth Southgate done? The FA wanted him to stay. In some circles of the FA, they wanted him to stay. But you kind of wonder about the messaging, and you wonder about, is it lost on players? You're hearing the same thing as you're hearing the same thing over and over and over again. Then what's the messaging in your brain? Yeah, I've heard all this stuff before. So Gareth Southgate out. Now you want to talk about a big search. It's going to be a big search, and there's going to be names. And we mentioned a couple of the front runners. But do those front runners, if they are employed, do they want to be a part of what's going on with England? So that's the larger question. But Gareth Southgate, early this morning, our time, overnight, really our time. And so I'm trying to subtract 5 and figure out when it was. But yeah, so it was while we were sleeping that Gareth Southgate is out as the England manager. And so there's new conversations that will be had in more than one country about all this stuff. So if you wish to apply, send your CV to Mark Bullingham, the chief executive of the FA, and let everybody know. And so we'll see what England has in mind. But yeah, the rundown today, we're going to be drifting in and out of the NPSL playoffs. Hickory FC and Columbus United, they're going to be playing each other, and it will be really interesting to see how this all lays out, because the sprint begins now. Semifinals that are coming up tomorrow in the South region. West Texas, OKC 1889, Hickory and Columbus United. Then those winners will play, once again, team with the higher regular season points per game average. And this is why winning the sprint and getting through the door with as best a record as possible, that's what we're leaning into here when it comes to all of these things. The Kylian Mbappe era has begun at Real Madrid. And you have your rounds of transfers and things like that are going on right now. Arsenal have rejected a Fulham bid for Emile Smith-Rowe. Arsenal's looking to dive in and get Real Sociedad's Mikel Merino. Villa's lining up a record move for Amadou Onana. Joshua Zirkzee has signed for Manchester United. I'm quite sure that there'll be a 3D from Drew Dickinson about that and anything else that is out there. The Marseille mayor has said that the Mason Greenwood move is a disgrace. He didn't want him here, but that might not be up to him. And we got more news, obviously, involving takeovers and things like that coming up in just a little bit. Coverage for the NPSL and the NPSL playoffs, where you've got to be ready on the hop because it is midweek, weekend, and all of that. And so our first stop this morning of the playoffs here in this particular part of the world, we head to North Carolina and catch up with the head coach of Hickory FC. You keep winning, and you keep showing up here on the show, Carlos. Head coach Carlos Rubio, Hickory FC. Good morning.
Good morning. We do it just to be on the show and speak with you every day. So
I love how you think. It's like, all right, we win. We know what's going to happen.
Yes.
All right. So break down what happened last weekend for us all. Now that you ain't done. So what happened last weekend to make sure that your season was not finished?
Yeah, it's a fantastic game, a really good environment, and just another. I keep using the same word over and over again. Another fantastic night for the whole community. Obviously, App is in Boone, an hour from us. So a lot of our fans were able to travel and be there with us. They have a fantastic support as well. So it was an amazing night, and we were really proud that we were able to cap it off with a championship. So yeah, yes, an incredible evening.
Do you ever have a pinch me moment when you're out there? I mean, while the game's going on, or do you have to wait until it's over before you sit there and you pinch yourself and go, man, we've had a really good run this year?
No, actually, doesn't normally hit me until after the game, like you said. But this game right before kickoff, myself and the coaching staff, we were working across the field, and we walked past both set of fans. So the home fan just full on yellow and black, and then we go into our fan section, all red, and that's when it hit me like, this is incredible. It's just the fact that we have two really good fans, like crowds and supporters, literally next to one another, chanting in a very respectful way. It's just fantastic. You could even coach how loud it was. So that's when it hit me. As soon as the whistle went, and it was game mode. But before that first whistle, we were in the moon.
When you look back, I mean, this season is a sprint. I mean, it literally is a sprint when you start the NPSL season and you're chasing after a national championship. How difficult is it knowing that you've got to accomplish a lot in the regular season in a very short period of time? You've got to win a lot of games so you can have that points per game average, so you can host as many matches as possible in the playoffs. How difficult is it for you and the staff to manage this whole thing of, we've got to be successful. We've got to be successful from the absolute beginning. We've got to win games. We've got to win a lot of games. We've got to win them now. That sense of urgency's always got to be there. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I think is in the expectations that we set for the club from above us, from the ownership group, and then obviously the coaching staff. We wanted to be on this stage at this point. So we knew that for that, apotheosis in May was just as important as Alliance in the back end of June. So we knew that all those games were going to count for the seeding, obviously, to be able to get into the conference. That was the first tick in the box. Then to host the conference, second tick in the box, to win it, third one, and now to host the regional. So we knew we wanted to be here. We knew we had the pieces to do it. But like you say, it's just the consistency of not dropping the level during a sprint race to ensure that we're in the place that we expected or we dream of at the start of the season.
So when you look at anything that surprises you, has there been what has been the most pleasant surprise this season on the field and off the field for you at Hickory?
The most pleasant surprise on the field is the band of brothers that we have representing this community. Obviously, as you know, they all come from different environments, different coaching staff, different backgrounds, schools, divisions. And I've played this league, and you cover it for a long time, so you know it's difficult to get buy into a team culture that represents them all quickly, and to fight and win for one another. And that was our message from the start, that we need to differentiate ourselves from other teams in the fact that we fight and win for one another, and not just as individuals. So that's the thing that I've been most proud of, because it happened from day one, and up until today, I still say that there is a band of brothers in that locker room that are willing to do whatever it takes for one another. And when you do that, then good things happen. And then off the field is just the level of support that we've got from the community. Obviously, we knew that the community was eager to have this club emerge, but it's just the other day when we went to Alliance, which is like almost a 4-hour drive, we have 50 fans show up there. The other day we went to Boone, and it felt like we were playing at home. And it's just the relentless support that they've shown us throughout the whole season. That's what I've been most proud of.
Have there been any players? What we like to do at points when we talk about things at the high school level or in the college level, are there any players there? We always like to say, make that young athlete an offer, because for whatever reason, they're overlooked. They could be too small. And yes, I'm using air quotes for those that are just listening to the show. They could be too small They could be, too slow. Mm-hmm. They could be whatever, and they're not getting the looks that you think that they should be getting. They should be playing at a higher level when it comes to college. They should be playing at a different level. They should be really getting a lot more looks to be playing at the next level. Is there anyone on your roster this year there at Hickory that checks that box where you sit there and you go, man, I don't know why they're only playing at X place, because they deserve to be playing at a place that means more recognition for them?
Yeah, I mean, there is one player that, as you were talking, just came directly to my mind, and we have plenty of those boys that could be playing at a really good level, but we're glad to be part of their journey now. But Camilo Salazar, one of our wingers, he's a small little man, it's tiny, skinny, probably like you say earlier when you describe a athlete, you probably wouldn't tick that box, but he just overcomes all that maybe physical disadvantage with his heart, his passion, his desire to win challenges. Obviously, technically he's brilliant, a fantastic soccer player, but he's the one that I've been more surprised of, because again, you wouldn't put him into the box that you was describing earlier, that perfect athlete, if you want to call it that way. But he surprised us. He was going the other day, obviously, up at a team that is very athletic, very strong. They tried to dominate that part of the game, and Camilo didn't look out of place. He was able to match up and come out on the better side in pretty much every challenge. So yeah, he'll be the one that will be part of the overlook.
Oh, no doubt. And when you look at what you've been able to accomplish, do you surprise yourself? Do you and the staff surprise yourselves with what you've been able to accomplish here in this first season? Or was this kind of what you were hunting for? It's like, yeah, we want to win. We want to win a lot. We want to get in the playoffs. We want to chase after a national championship. Was that really what you were hunting for in year one, or what were the expectations going in?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, it comes down from top to bottom, right? So the ownership group, they wanted us to be successful from year one, and that's one of the reasons why we accepted the job, because we didn't want to be part of something that it was just happy to make up the numbers. We all have to sacrifice a lot for this to happen. So let's just aim to win the national championship in year one. Why not? So that was our goal as coaching the staff. And if we achieve it, fantastic. We'll look to achieve it in year two as well. If we don't and we fell short, then evaluate at the end of the season and see what we missed that stopped us and prevented us from winning a national championship. But that's the way we operate. I think that's the only way we know how to recruit, and that's the only way we know how to coach. It's just aiming for the biggest trophy out there, and then do whatever it takes to achieve it.
How much studying have you been able to do with on Columbus? By the way, Brett's coming on after you this morning, so I'm going to ask you that question again, like we had with Dale, as you exit and Brett comes in. How much studying have you been able to do with Columbus?
Yeah, I mean, it's the downside, I guess, of these Saturdays, Wednesdays, that as soon as we get back on the bus and to celebrating, I was sitting with the coaching staff on the bus and say, all right, so how we beat Columbus now? So that was the whole drive back. Is just obviously analyzing what we've done well, because to be in this stage, what we've done is work, and it's put us in the position that we are. So there is no need for us to now go crazy and start changing things and adapting. So the last couple of days has been like, what we've done that has made us successful. Let's keep hammering on that, and then just have a clear idea of what Columbus like to propose on the field, how they like to play, what patterns can we observe from them. It's going to be a fantastic game. They deserve to be here. Obviously, they're here, so they've done a fantastic season, a really good run on the conference term, beating really good teams as well. So they've been proven and tested. So I know it's going to be another great now soccer for our community, for the NPSL, and we look to make everyone proud and get those that win so we can advance into the final.
No, and you mentioned the fan support traveling to 865, basically suburban Knoxville from there, and you got to go through the mountain pass. You got to grab like a stable of horses. You got to make sure that the brakes work on every car. I mean, it is a haul going through the mountains. What's it been like to see the fan support where you're setting attendance records and all of these different markers that you guys are hitting so far this year?
Mind blowing. But not just that. It's just how soccer has overtaken the community. It's just we go into bars, restaurants, and breweries, and you see the scarves all over their tabs. The other day, there was a lot of people watching the Euro final. There was a lot of people watching the Copa America final. There was a lot of people watching our game in the watch party, even though they couldn't make the trip. So it's just how the sport has surrounded the community over the summer, and it's just part of Hickory, part of who we are, and I will gladly say that it's part of our culture now.
If you and this is your last question, so let me write this down. So when Brett comes in, I can ask. So this is what happens when I've got notebooks and everything around me. So all right, I had you ask a question for Dale.
Yeah.
And so now that you're in the playoffs, I'm going to continue this trend that we have. If you had a question for Brett about Columbus or about the match in general tomorrow, what is your question for him that I will ask him when he pops in here in a little bit?
Obviously, first of all, I haven't had the pleasure to meet him yet, so I'm excited to meet him on Wednesday and congratulate him on a great season. The year one as well, if I'm not mistaken. So what they've done, my question for him is like, what they've done in year one that has put him in this position, because really we've done things our way and it's been successful, but obviously they've done things their way and it's been successful as well. So what they've done in year one that has made them as a club be in this stage. So, but just please, when you speak with him, extend my congratulations.
You got it. And so I wrote it down. I said, what have you done in year one to be successful doing it your way? So yep. That is, so as I write feverishly here. So questions written down. So when Brett comes in to talk about everything Columbus United, they're hopping on the bus today and they're heading your way. So I guess they don't want to do anything day of, get on the bus the day of, have cranky muscles and that kind of a thing. So I think they're leaving today and they're heading your way. So here's the question for Brett. I've written it down. I will ask him if he's got a question for you, and then the two of you either can discuss it here on you can discuss it in your social media or all those kind of stuff. But
I'll be watching. So
there you go. All right. So once again, go ahead and hit the promo for me. Start time, all the stuff when it comes to the playoff game tomorrow.
Yeah, so a beautiful night of soccer in Moretti Stadium at 7 p.m. We look to pack the stadium, break again our attendance record, and safe travels to Columbus United and their coaching staff and players. We're excited to have them here.
No doubt about it. Carlos, it's always great to catch up with you, my friend. When we catch up with you this time of year, that means you're still winning in the playoffs. And so obviously we'll keep an eye on what's going on tomorrow and follow as we go here in the NPSL. Thanks for hanging out with us again. Bat and lead off again on Tuesday. Be safe, my friend.
See ya. Thank you.
All right. That's Carlos Rubio, the head coach at Hickory FC. And so Carlos is getting ready for Columbus United. And Columbus United, they ran through their conference, and they've made it through. And so they are going to be hitting the bus today. And we caught up with Brett when they were just starting as an organization. When Brett had been named, we got into the ideas, and we'll go and revisit some of those talking points. But to see Columbus run the way that they have and make it into the playoffs and put up some big numbers along the way, it's been a fun watch to see them make their run from Kinnett Stadium in Columbus, Georgia, to bring a different kind of football to Kinnett. And now they're in the playoffs in year number one. And so it's been really cool to see all of these first-year teams work their way through all of the navigations of starting a franchise and then going from starting a franchise to hitting the ground and making sure that, like we were talking about with Coach Rubio, you got to hit the ground running. You've got to win a lot of games. You've got to make sure that everything is all locked in place and confident in your approach, confident with your player pool, and make sure that you can navigate your division the first time through. What we've seen with first-year clubs. And you're seeing it in the NPSL this year. And we'll see how it's been with Columbus and catching up with Coach Teach coming up just around the corner. It's been fun to see the build for a lot of these first-year clubs, and they're making their pushes into the postseason in NPSL in year number one. I know that Morning Wiley and Morning Tom and Morning Michael, I know that you guys are talking about the season ticket email that came out yesterday. We'll go over that in hour number 2 as well. And we'll, like I said, there's a lot of news to navigate this morning. We mentioned Gareth Southgate off the top. We've got to discuss what CONMEBOL said about Miami on their way out the door. And the Colombian Federation, I had to answer to the local police as well. And so we'll discuss that. We have a lot of other news going on. Like I said, we mentioned what's going on at RSL. We'll go into that in depth, and we'll see what the early reports are involving Chicho Arango, and we'll be getting into that. All right, turn of the corner. We had one coach in the matchup on, and now it's time to catch up with the other coach in this particular matchup. And so now it's time to go to Columbus, catch up with Brett Teach. Morning, Coach. Welcome back to the morning show.
Thank you for having me, John. Sorry about the informality. I'm in my car because we train at 9:45, so I'm sitting in my car at the stadium catching up with you guys today.
No worries. So I will make sure that you are out the door by 9:44 just to make sure to practice in the right way. What I like to do when I have coaches in the postseason, and we are fortunate enough to where they're going up against each other in a matchup, I wanted to have Carlos Rubio at Hickory ask you a question. He's watching the show back in Hickory. His question for you is, what have you in the collective done in year one to be as successful as you've been doing it in your way? So that's Carlos's question for you. What's your answer?
Wow, sounds like Carlos is too smart for me. I think really, I do have the benefit of our owner having several of these teams. And so I think a lot of the day-to-day nuts and bolts mechanical operations of an organization are in place, which has allowed me to essentially concentrate on, bringing in the right types of players, not only systematically, but also kids who fit kind of how we want to play and the types of people we're looking for. Basically, I'm very fortunate. I've been doing this a long time. So a lot of my coaching friends, if you look at our roster, they're players who play for my friends. Guys that, we have players from like Rio Grande, Ohio, Mary Washington in Virginia, Georgia Southwestern. We have players from Stetson and all these different schools. Well, the reason we have these players is because of the relationship I have with their coach. And so I think I was very fortunate in that early on. And then I think, honestly, the day-to-day, the guys have just worked really, really hard. I think our league, there's 6 teams in our conference that could be sitting where we are right now. We played 13 games so far, and every one has been a very difficult match. There are no blowouts in our division. Every game is 1-1, 2-1, 3-2, 3-1. And it's because, the 4 teams that are in our division, New Orleans, ourselves, Tallahassee, and Pensacola, all were this year very good. And so, the old term iron sharpens iron. I think as the year went on and on, in order just to survive in these games, you had to grow exponentially during the season. It'd be like, Hickory and the top teams playing each other 4 times. So Hickory and App play 4 times. We played Pensacola 4 times. And Pensacola is a very good team. We played Tallahassee 4 times. And same thing. And we played Tallahassee 4 times in 3 weeks. So the familiarity that you have with each other and the rivalry is intense. And then New Orleans, who actually finished last in our group, we didn't beat them. We tied them twice. And quite frankly, they were as good as anybody in our league. It's just a bounce or two didn't go their way in certain games. And so they didn't quite get into playoffs. And so I think that, the ability to concentrate on building the roster, the ability to concentrate on building the brand and the team, and then finally having a league that you must grow and improve every day, you're not going to be ready, has really kind of helped us along the way. And obviously, we could easily have not played beyond June 29th because, our league was such that any of the top 4 teams could have been there and any of those 4 teams could have won it. And then the other division was a little bit not quite as strong because there were a couple teams at the bottom that weren't as good, but you still had Jacksonville and Naples who were very good as well. So there's 6 of our 8 teams are teams that, quite frankly, would do just as good a job representing our conference tomorrow night at Hickory as we will. And so, that's really it. You just have those combinations of a really good infrastructure in place and the understanding of the league through your ownership group, the ability to recruit great kids through coaching network, and then a league that challenges you to grow every day.
Was there anything that was a pleasant surprise for you in this year 1 sprint to the playoffs?
Yeah, probably how good our league was. I was really surprised at each New Orleans, Tallahassee, and Pensacola. Of course, we also did a 2-game series with a crossover team. So we played Naples, who is essentially a pro team, because it's basically the old Michigan Stars. They took the coach, lock, stock, and barrel, and moved to Naples.
Oh, wow.
And they were very good. And we played them early on. And when they were, probably they ended up winning their division. They were very good. So I think the quality top to bottom of our opponents have been outstanding. And, I had a feeling, I mean, when you get to the level we are now, everybody's good. But during the season, you'd see other leagues with scores 5-0, 7-0, 4-0, because you have newer teams or teams that aren't as well organized maybe as others. And you see these bigger results. In our league, you never saw that. Like in our division, there were no blowouts. Again, I think the biggest margin of victory in our division was 3-1. And so I was really surprised with that. And I think the crowd support at these places has been a little more than I expected. I was really surprised. We go to New Orleans and we go to Naples in the first game, and it wasn't particularly well attended. It was kind of an odd time. It was really hot. It was that first game. Then we go to New Orleans, and they have 3,500 people at the game. They got crazy lunatics behind me screaming at us the whole time. It's so much fun. And then we turn around in Tallahassee, and you play in their big, they have this big, huge stadium, and they've got a very loyal support. They've got great internet presence, if you will. And so you watch the 2 guys that run their shows, because I watch that weekly. Tally Talk, they called it. I used to watch that. I watched the New Orleans weekly show as well, and to see, because these clubs have been around for a while. And so it's really great for me, being a newbie in the league, is to see how, Kenny runs his organization at New Orleans, because, they've been around 20 some odd years, and Tallahassee's now has been around the better part of 10 years, and Pensacola's been around for years and years. And so I think that was really surprising to me as well.
When you mentioned all of this stuff, what was the crowd support been like and the fan support been like for you there in Columbus as the season's gone along?
Really phenomenal. We had a great opening crowd of 2,200, and we were a little bit concerned that, the novelty of the new team would wear out, and maybe it would drop off significantly. We were, I think, maybe 1 game below 1,000, and we were like 900 that game. The rest were all between 1,100 and 1,700. We had a great turnout for the playoffs. I think it was 1,800 or so at that game. And again, for a team that was formed kind of late.
And he's like there in the car and everything. Man, I'm guessing that Brett got a phone call, because that's how sometimes this works, is that sometimes you'll get a phone call like in mid-conversation and you'll get bumped off your line. And I'm wondering if Brett had to answer his phone and try and figure out what's going on. So we'll keep Brett. We'll keep Brett's lineup for another couple of minutes, because I have to ask him his question about what his question is going to be for Carlos Rubio here coming up in just a little bit. But once again, just to kind of get the lay of the land, they're going to practice, and Columbus United, they were the 4 in the Gulf.
Can you hear me again?
There you go, Brett. I guess you got a phone call. Did you get
I've lost you.
I got you. You're good.
You can hear me?
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I can't hear you at all.
Oh, wow.
You want me to try to call back in real quick?
Yes, call back in real quick. Do that. Yes. All right, so Brett's going to duck out and duck back in. I mean, he was in his car and everything was fine. I thought that Brett got a phone call, and that was traditionally what happens when you get a phone call and you're doing it off of a mobile device. Yeah, data versus phone line. That could be. So, I mean, it's sometimes it lends itself. I was wondering if you got a phone call and got bumped off your own line.
I don't know. It was really odd. I just all of a sudden I couldn't hear you. You couldn't hear me, and it was crazy. So sorry about that.
No worries. You were talking about the fan support that you were getting there.
Yeah, it was really like we were above 1,000. I think every single game we had 1,800 at our playoff game at home, and I think but what's been even better has been the connection with the team. There's been a real like bond between the team and the community, and we get a lot of loyal support. We got decent crowd on the road when we travel, especially, in our league, it's tough because there is some great distances that we travel. I mean, Naples was 10, 11 hours away. New Orleans is 7. Our closest game was, I think, 3. So, but we still got support in those types of games. And so I think we're fortunate with that. And then we're beginning to get a bit of an online presence with our teams as well. So
2-minute warning with you because I want to get you out of your car by 9:44 for a 9:45
Perfect.
practice. How much studying have you done on Hickory, or is it just kind of focusing on yourself because this is rinse and repeat right now with midweek weekend?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, obviously you're going to do your homework. You're going to watch them play. You're going to, talk to coaches who've seen them or whatever and try to get a feel for what they are. But, my philosophical approach is always, it is about the group you can control. And so we'll go in and we'll do our best to get control of the game and play. I realize, you got to know who their danger guys are. You have to know their style of play. And obviously I know Lenore Ryan really well. I used to be in that league when I was at Tusculum. I think we won the 2009 championship there, or we knocked them off anyway, and they're a great program. And so, I'm familiar with the school, familiar with Hickory, but you get to know them, and they're very good. They're fun to watch. They're good on the ball. They've got a lot of guys that I think express themselves well in the final third. So it'll be a difficult task, but again, every game now is going to be difficult. There's not going to be one you just, this is easy. They're very good, and you don't beat a team like Appalachian, and you don't knock Apotheos out the game before if you're not good.
All right.
I know those coaches really well, so I know their teams are prepped.
No doubt. And John Mercado and Dale Parker and Carlos, they knock each other around for an entire season in that conference. All right. So since Carlos asked you your question, if you had a question for Carlos Rubio and Hickory FC, what would it be? And they can answer when you guys shake hands when you hit the ground up there at Lenore Ryan.
Mine would be very similar kind of in nature to him. What does he feel were their biggest challenges in this first year? And for year 2, what steps do they feel like they could make as an organization to grow their brand, to grow their market share, if you will, and to improve the overall process that they have? I mean, because again, we're in that stage as well. We're collecting data, looking at information, and really trying to increase our success rate with our fans, with our group. And so, I think on the field, Carlos obviously is a great coach. There's no, I think on the field, I think we're all well-versed in how that goes. I really think that, what's interesting about the NPSL is as coaches, we are involved directly in the growth of our organizations. I think we have a responsibility, and I would love to know kind of from his perspective, kind of what would be his thoughts for year 2, areas they could improve and areas that, maybe I haven't thought about.
All good. All right. 9:45. Go to practice.
Perfect. Thanks, John.
All right. Be good. Brett Teach, the head coach at Columbus United. He's heading to practice. Literally, he's stepping out of his car and he's going to practice. And so thanks to Brett for joining us before he hit practice. And I guess they got warm-ups and everything. And so 9:45 to 10, I guess they're warming up. 10 o'clock, they got practice. that's one of your matchups in the NPSL playoffs tomorrow. It's at Hickory, and it is in the South region. And you're looking at the playoff structure, and obviously come top of the hour, we're going to get into more of your playoffs as well and let you know what's happening at Duluth FC. And that means that we're going to maybe, possibly, probably have a very special guest to discuss what's going on. So you've got the regional playoffs that are going on, and it's midweek weekend for most of it. Like out west, it's stuff this weekend. Midwest region is midweek weekend, and that's what we'll get into at the top of the hour with our special guest from Duluth FC. South region, once again, semifinals tomorrow. West Texas from the Lone Star and OKC 1889. Then it's Hickory and Columbus United. The match is going to be at West Texas on the other side. And then you hope that your points per game average keeps you at home. Otherwise, you're hitting a bus and you're traveling for your next one. East region tomorrow, FC Motown and Virginia Dream. Virginia Dream has like Bill Hamid and a couple of other players from Major League Soccer. So FC Motown and Virginia Dream, that's going to be an interesting one looking at those two rosters. Westchester United, Keystone West, and New York Shockers out of the North Atlantic. And once again, those two play on the 20th after midweek and weekend. So that's what you're staring at with the East and the South. We're going to talk Midwest coming up at the top of the hour. West region, El Farolito out of the Golden Gate is going to take on FC Arizona, and that one is on the weekend. That one is on Saturday. So Wednesday, Saturday, or in the case of the West, it's just Saturday. Okay. I know that a lot of you have been talking amongst yourselves about stuff, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to say hi to everybody. Morning, Alex. Morning, Ropes. Morning, Tom. Morning, Emilio. Morning, Michael Head. And morning, Wiley. Morning, Rich. Let's see. Morning, Tom. Let's see. Morning, Kefsey. And let's see. I think I've got everybody. So that's the good mornings. Morning, Rich. And so yesterday, I know that a lot of you are discussing what the release was about the season ticket pricing. Just for those that may not know, it is a first of its kind program. A ticket sellback program is going to launch next year. First of its kind program designed to give fans the opportunity to return tickets to matches they're unable to attend in return for credit toward their 26 balance. 25 season ticket packages, 18 matches, 17 regular season, and 1 Leagues Cup group stage match. And then you can go to your season ticket member hub and find out more information. The quote from Garth: constantly listening and responding to our fans in an effort to increase the value of being a season ticket member, and a common theme we've heard is how different their lives are from 9 years ago when they placed a deposit to become a founding member. We believe giving our members the opportunity to sell us back tickets to the matches they can't attend will ensure that both our game experience and our member experience align while bolstering the long list of benefits they receive for being part of the most passionate fan base in the league. While club season tickets remain sold out, existing waitlist members can expect to receive options for the 25 season, with some packages starting for as little as $34. New fans looking to join the waitlist program can join for $50 per account, and you go to Atlanta United's website for that. So season ticket members, access to the following: free away match tickets. Members receive complimentary away match tickets for all MLS regular season matches due to supply and capacity in Fort Lauderdale. They can't guarantee all requests for a matchup against Messi and friends. Ticket exchange program. Members can exchange tickets for home matches they're not attending for other home matches. Window to exchange tickets is 30 days prior to the match they're returning. MLS Season Pass on Apple. You get access to every 2024 MLS match on Season Pass. 1 free subscription included in each full season ticket account. 15% off at MLSstore.com and at the official Atlanta United team store locations. Members receive first access to purchase additional single-match Atlanta United tickets and pre-sale access for most international soccer matches played at MBS. And then new in 25 is the ticket sellback program, where season ticket members can return tickets for matches they're unable to attend in exchange for credit toward the 26th season. Tickets have to be returned during a specified window in January for matches April through October. And so that is That's the rundown from Atlanta United. And so from the conversations that you guys are having, it looks like I don't know what the if there's an increase, if there's a ticket increase percentage or what that is. I think that you guys can help me out with that conversation in the Twitch pitch. So that's what Atlanta United is setting up for the 25 season. And I know that you guys have been having a spirited discussion when it comes to all of that. We mentioned what's going on since we're in Major League Soccer. We'll go ahead and discuss what's going on in Salt Lake City. I don't know if you saw this, but Chicho Arango he has been suspended for 4 matches, and it is for a policy violation. Obviously, the top goal scorer in Major League Soccer, but Chicho Arango has been suspended for 3 matches and the upcoming All-Star game for violating MLS's anti-harassment policy. RSL said in a statement the team has fully cooperated with Major League Soccer's investigation and accepts the disciplinary decision. No additional details on the violation immediately released. Arango recently tied the RSL single-season scoring record, leads all scorers in Major League Soccer. So Chicho Arango violating the MLS anti-harassment policy. And like I said, no other details, and this is from our friends at the Salt Lake Tribune. But no other details, but it is a 4-match suspension, 3 matches plus the All-Star game for Chicho Arango. So obviously, if more details come out, then obviously we will let you know what is the details on that. And so it's a Tuesday, and so let's welcome our bots into the discussion, and we will block this particular bot. And I'd kind of, I don't know, like to report said bot as well, but I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to do that, considering where it is on the page. I guess more folks have to sit there and have more folks talk so I can slide it up a little bit more so I can report said bot. But Emilia says most of the first levels 5 to 7%, Truist Club 7%. Alex says his total cost for the season increased $35 a seat. So that's where the discussion is right now with season tickets. But yes, well, I'm hoping bye bot. I've got to wait for. Let me see if I've got enough room now in my. There we go. Yeah, thank you, folks, for adding to the Twitch pitch to give me a little bit more room so I can block said bot. Thank you for doing that. 9:53. Nothing like live radio reporting bots on Twitch, right? All right. Report's been submitted. So blocked and reported. Thank y'all very, very much. I love it when we all can work together to make sure that there are no more bots, or at least less damn bots in the system. How about that? So, but yeah, so Alex gave his report. Total cost of the season increased by $35 a seat. And you've got Emilio with some info there as well. So according to Atlanta United, season ticket numbers are still at 100% capacity. And then you've got wait list, and then you can join the wait list. So that's what you're staring at right now with the policy with Atlanta United. And when it comes to obviously after this week, it is the MLS All-Star game in Columbus. They've been announcing the teams for all of the different skills challenges and things like that. You've got skills challenge roster for MLS and Liga MX, and those rosters were released as well. Acosta, Alba, Bernardeschi, Busquets, Berkey, Evander, Gauld, Cucho, Martin Peiss, Ricky Puig, Sasha Kljestan, and a really cool element that has been added is that you get Liga MX Femenil stars, Diana Ordonez, or you get NWSL stars. Diana Ordonez from Houston Dash was added to the MLS All-Star group. Liga MX All-Stars for the Skills Challenge. Alvarado, Brunetta, Canales from Monterrey, Jonah dos Santos from Club America, Guardado from León, Huerta, Malagon, Kevin Mir from Cruz Azul, Piovi, Solomon Rondon from Pachuca, Luis Hernandez, and Alicia Cervantes from Liga MX Femenil Guadalajara. And you're going to have Sasha Kleshtin, Luis Hernandez compete. Goalie Wars is back. Jean Antoine from Chattanooga FC from MLS Next Pro is jumping in, along with Michael Collodi from North Texas, Stas Lapkus, who was on the bench for Crew 2 on the weekend, and Chitura Udunzi from Crown Legacy is going to be a part of Goalie Wars. And I always want Goalie Wars to be Goalie Wars with a Z. I don't know. It's just one of those. That's one of those things. You want Goalie Wars to be with a Z. But we do have a couple of transactions to keep an eye on. Colorado Rapids have transferred Marco Ilic to Red Star Belgrade. Revolution have transferred Henrik Ravas to the Polish league to top flight side KS Cracovia. That was announced back on Sunday. So Henrik Ravas is leaving. Charlotte FC have loaned Hamadi Diop to a team in Serbia. I didn't have that one on the bingo card. FK Kukaricki, who we've seen in Europa League and Europa Conference League. Deal lasts through January. So the Ides of January, and then they get to determine whether or not Diop gets to stay a little longer with Kukaricki or if he comes back. Speaking of coming back, Karl Schwiderski apparently is coming back. His loan did not work out in Charlotte, and so he's heading back. Galaxy have signed midfielder Isaiah Parente from Ventura County. So through 24 options spanning 25 and 26, 3 goals and 16 appearances for their MLS Next Pro affiliate. Also in the acquisitions department, you've got 2 more. It is Scott Arfield is leaving Charlotte FC to go to Bolton Wanderers. CF Montreal signed English defender Tom Pierce from Wigan through the 26 season with an option for 27. That was announced. He was out of contract after playing for Wigan Athletic, 4 goals and 20 and 124 appearances. This is cool. It's always cool because I'll show our next guest where things are laid out when it comes to the office here. But when we get the chance to talk about Duluth FC, we have these unique crossovers. And it's always fun to catch up with this particular crossover because he's a globetrotter. He's a world traveler. And he's kind of won some things. And so when we had the chance to talk Duluth FC, here's how this worked out yesterday. I saw that Duluth FC had made the playoffs in the NPSL. And I'm like, ooh, idea. And so I fire off an email, not knowing where on the planet this particular individual is. And he's like, oh, I'm at home. Yeah, I'm coming crash. And so we bring in mogul John Shuster. What's going on, dude? It's been too long. Welcome back.
Mogul. I don't know about mogul. That's being awfully generous. Good to see you, man.
All right. So here now, once again, full disclosure, this is always here, right here with the office, right there. It's always off of my shoulder. And I always have the Duluth FC scarf right there. And then I'm going to extend my cord here. And the other part of our equation that you graciously sent to Office HD is in here. And I don't know if that looks familiar to you or not. The Team USA scarf. That is here in the back as well. So you are well represented, my friend, when it comes to Office HD and everything that goes on here with SDH. How are you?
Oh, it's I'm good. Life's a whirlwind, man.
Oh,
my kids are crazy into sports, so yeah.
Well, and I mean, when you have to balance your professional life with your mogul and training life and Duluth FC, and what's it been like to see Duluth make the playoffs with all of the chaos that's going on in the life of John Shuster these days?
It's pretty special because last year, and I was on the show kind of at the beginning, but we won the North Conference regular season and had an undefeated season, and we're ranked, I think, points per game #1 in the country heading into the playoffs. And so And then we had the most chaotic second round game playing against our to win the North playoffs. I mean, 18 cards, and we had 3 guys sent off with red, and we still almost won that bad boy. But we had a lot of our players who felt, like there was unfinished business, and we got a big core of our team back this year. And this year didn't go quite as smoothly through the regular season. We definitely had some hiccups along the way. But just like any good team, adversity only builds character, and our team came and had put a game plan together to beat a Dakota Fusion team who also had played this entire season, unbeaten. I think we drew with them one time and they had 2 other draws, but and we went in there and got a 1-0 win, and off to Des Moines we go tomorrow.
What's it been like for you to see Duluth FC continue to build and grow and be the presence there in the community that it is?
Yeah, it's been incredible, to be honest, because, up here in the North in soccer, it's the Minnesota United, and then you get down a little and you got, Fighting Kansas City. And I think there's a lot of very there's a lot of highest level soccer fandom, but, when we're playing around the NPSL North, other clubs are looking, they're hoping to get 100 people at games, maybe a couple hundred people. And this year, I think at our last 2 games, we had 830 and 820. So to see that growth and that amount of excitement around the sport of soccer up here, which we've, never seen, and to see that then extending to youth levels. Last year, my wife and some parents and coaches started our travel program within our community, which we have 35,000 people, and we had 3 teams and 39 kids. And this year, we had 9 teams and 140 kids. And in our fall program, we have like 260 playing. So, to see, and a lot of that has to do with UWS soccer, which is a Division III mainstay up here. And for Duluth FC to then, our guys are being very much members of the community, doing a lot of, helping out with coaching with our youth programs, not just with Superior, but our other youth programs. And I think that's allowed, them to be embraced and bringing people to games. And when people come to a game, I don't think they're expecting to see what they see. And, the NPSL, the level of soccer is no joke there. And there are guys, that can play. You put them on a pitch with an MLS club, and the MLS club might have the ball a lot of the time, but it's not going to be as lopsided as people would expect.
What have you learned about yourself as someone who might follow the sport of soccer a little more, obviously with Minnesota United, and so we need to get you to. I forgot to bring you in for the Minnesota United preview this year. When it comes to
how'd that game go? I forget.
Of course you did. Yeah, I wonder.
There's one of my soccer players.
There it is. Who's this?
This is Logan. This guy right here has the biggest 8-year-old foot probably in northern Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had a few goals this year, didn't you, buddy?
I only had like 20.
I only had like 20, he said. Okay, get out of here. He actually, this kid, I kid you not, had 3 Olympicos this year.
Seriously?
As an 8-year-old. And his last one was a left footer in swinger. He's not a left footer.
Nothing wrong with being a left
Sign
footer.
him up. Yeah. Sign him up.
That's tremendous.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
What have you learned about yourself as both an athlete and as an owner and an investor in something like this? As something that grows, I know we talk about terrible twos and wanting to avoid those kinds of things, whether we're talking about family or, business. But what have you been able to learn about yourself with all this?
I think I've kind of learned, and it's reinforced the importance of your surrounding cast. And that's the one thing coming in here. All right, Logan, buddy. Yeah. After I'm off 20 minutes, buddy. And I'm making pancakes. That's the balance thing. And that's the living at home, working at home, and coming on a podcast at 9 when we eat breakfast. It's all good. But really it's having a great supporting cast. And that's where curling teams are not that different from business entities. And that's where, when I go out and speak to businesses, sometimes I feel like a fraud because, I'm 41 years old and the extent of my working life was, a year in restaurant management. And now it's, being a owner of a tier 1 or tier 2 soccer team. But having those pieces in place and making sure people have defined roles, that's where we get our 800 fans at games, and we turn our stadium, which is a high school football stadium, into Duluth FC's home stadium. And if you look at, the aesthetics, is that the scoreboard has, a giant sponsor logo of Aspire St. Luke's on it, along with Duluth FC logos. And we have Duluth FC flags, and you walk in there and you feel like you're walking into our own stadium. And to set up that stadium at the beginning was, the first game here, I was like, oh my gosh, what's this going to take? But, you have the right staff in there. And I feel like the last 3 or 4 home games this year, it was like a 25-minute process where you think it should be a 2-hour process to turn it into your own. So, having those pieces and having those important pieces. We have a coach who's, if he didn't love our community and our town, I imagine could go much, much higher in soccer coaching, because what he gets out of players and the way he builds teams. So yeah, it's really just reinforced that your supporting cast and defined roles within that cast and holding people accountable to those things can lead to, smoothness and success. And, I try nothing other than, I tell, I have 3 players living at my house because we're a host family as well for our players, because they all get host families.
Yeah.
And my goal being for these guys coming in here, and our coach's goal for these guys coming in here, is to give them a summer to focus completely on soccer and not have another care in the world. We don't want to have them worry about, how they're going to buy their next meal, or, how they're going to get to the game. We have, between people using cars and guys bringing cars, and we arrange it so they can come here and focus on soccer. And I think it's that singular focus on soccer where we've had players that have gotten extreme development in the game.
What's it like billeting your players? Because, I would imagine that power bill, food bill, laundry, those are all adventures that you get to fill out this time of year. What's it like being a host?
Yeah, I try not to look at that too much. I don't think it's the one thing that we don't have is these guys also, we have had some players that consume an incredible amount of food. The guys that I have right now, kind of. But I think the biggest balance is trying to help them figure out how to be men, because, a lot of these guys are, and I remember being in college life. And so it's like, you look back at the sink of the dishwasher and being like, hey, all right, like we're men and professionals, and these are the things that we got to do. And but it's also it's so rewarding for seeing them kick the soccer ball around in the side yard with the kids. And one of our players living with us is kind of interning as our director of coaching for our soccer, and so. He's in there and building plans and helping us as an organization too. So it's, it really has been an incredible process. And I have a few, from past years of people that we billeted, some incredible, I would call them success stories, how we have become part of their story. Oh my gosh, there's my dog going in the background here. That must mean my players are home.
Oh, that's awesome. Shusty's joining
real life, John, real life.
Nothing wrong with that, brother. Shusty's joining us from his home in Duluth, Minnesota. And we're discussing everything from curling.
Players, there he is right here.
There it is. Who's that?
Are you live?
I'm live right now on the radio in Atlanta. All right, boys.
Hello, Atlanta.
So that means silence a little bit. Good morning, Atlanta, he's saying so.
Hey, good morning, Duluth.
These guys, hey, they're on, they're national now.
Yeah, dude, you got players.
Actually, so that's
yeah.
That's actually kind of the crazy thing that's happening right now is that with this playoff thing we got going on is that, we're going to Des Moines today. The game's tomorrow. If we win that game, we got to be in Pittsburgh on Saturday. So to make that financially feasible. So like the last couple of days for me, it's been, like trying to figure out, my goodness, they're loud back there.
Breaking stuff.
For me, it's really been trying to figure out like how to make it where we can, not be coming straight off of a bus, straight off of a plane, trying to play a playoff soccer game. And then to also make it, where we're not going to put our, club into, financial peril. So it's like that balance. And so I've spent since we won on Saturday night, trying to figure out how, to make that work, which is the life of a lower level soccer team.
The life and level of a mogul in training. John Shuster hanging out with us this morning. So
I do that too once in a while.
Well, and so then let me ask, how many hours did you spend at a desk in your office away from the kitchen and the traffic and the dogs and the billets to try to figure out, okay, if we do this, if we do this, how much of a challenge is it for you to sit down to make ends meet to where you're not spending Duluth FC into a hole you can't get out of?
Yeah, no, it's I probably in the last 2 days probably have 6 or 8 hours kind of into that. And it's funny that you think I have a desk in an office. But yeah. But the one thing that I do have going for me is that I've done so much of my own travel booking that I could probably go to a travel agency and do whatever kind of test it is. I could be a travel agent. So but as far as like finding like, okay, like, you know what, hotels, like look at distance and cost analysis and all that kind of stuff too. So, yeah, I probably spent 6 or 8 hours. And actually after I get off this thing today, I got to call our bus company that we partner with and talk about the options as to whether we're going to go to Des Moines and have them, when we win, drop us off in Minneapolis and we're going to fly from Minneapolis to Pittsburgh, or if we're going to take the bus and go straight from Des Moines over to Pittsburgh and then come back on Sunday with the same bus. So we got to kind of do that.
Wow, man.
As that happens too. So yeah, that's my next move. Is I got a little bit more work left, even though these guys leave at 5 o'clock today.
Wow. When you get to have meetings with the players, how much wisdom do you impart with them, or do you leave that to the coaches, or do they come to you and sit there and go, I know you've been in big situations before where you're representing your country and things like that. Do you get to have individual conversations? Do they come to you and want to pick your brain about how to handle big situations?
I don't force probably my knowledge upon necessarily anybody, but I have recognized, over the last couple of years, if, for instance, this last game, we had a player, actually one of them living with us, that has kind of had what seemed to be kind of a major injury and got back to the point where he could, train and maybe contribute, but definitely wasn't going to be able to play 90 minutes for us. But he has a skill set that nobody else on our team has. Right. And the coach had to have a call with another player on our team who deserved worked his butt off all year, contributed all year, but he was going to find himself outside of the 18 at our conference championship game. And he had to make that phone call he called me and said, hey, just so you know, like I have this phone call to make and I'm not looking forward to it. And for me, being able to be a sounding board for our coach when, difficult decisions, like our curling team this last year had a 5-man team, and our guy who was our alternate on our team was just too valuable to keep off of the ice. And we had to have those conversations within our team to, people that didn't necessarily do anything wrong. They did everything right. And you have to, make those personnel decisions to give yourself yourself and your team the best chance to succeed. And I just kind of had to, I didn't have to, but he asked, just for me, to be a sounding board for a few minutes to, give him the courage and the whatever to make that phone call. And he, let me know it was going to be one of the toughest phone calls he made in his life. And, even for me to, go see the player, which I haven't yet, but, to thank him for the work. Because, the reason why our team's so successful is the effort that these guys put in every morning at training, because we train every single day, which is kind of sometimes a little bit different from a lot of other NPSL clubs where we're very, very professional. And yeah, so those are the things where I've now found that I'm being brought into a little bit more than I ever, was as just a host family, where I have that, connection and with all of the players, but then also can be a sounding board for our coach. I have nothing to do with personnel decisions or tactics or anything like that. But I have found that, if I do see something, even though I've never played a game of soccer in my life, other than the parents versus kids game last Monday that I played against my 11-year-old team, that I do actually, see the game in a way that's, somewhat valid to reaffirm, what a coach or somebody else has seen.
Multiple medal winner, gold medal winner, John Shuster hanging out with us. Shusty on the gram, the IG, or the Insta, whatever the kids call it these days. And it's Shusty 2010 on the 280 character app. I'd be remiss if I didn't get a curling update. with I know it might be a little difficult to curl right now because you'd be curling on water, which would make things a little difficult. But what's the latest with you in curling? What's the schedule, and when are you globetrotting?
Yeah, it's starting August 26th. It's going to be a whirlwind. If that might even be an understatement. I think I'm home for an average of like 12 days a month from August through December. So,
oh, wow.
But yeah, so we're actually going to Oslo, Norway to start our season this year. We actually used to usually have a camp like early August and then play maybe late August or beginning of September. And this year we kind of decided for our team to go over to Oslo and play in this tournament, but take a few extra days to kind of have a camp like leading into it over there. Yeah, so starts in Oslo, and then man, I'm trying to think if I could even do this in order. I think we go Oslo, Cornwall, Ontario, Okotoks, Alberta. I think then we head over to the Grand Slam in Prince Edward Island, and then I think we have Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and then we play in the Pan Pacific Championships, which is basically to figure out who the 5 teams between North America and the Pacific Rim are going to be going to the Worlds. Then we go back to another Grand Slam, I think, which is over in Alberta, which is where the Pan Pacifics are. And then I think another Grand Slam, which is up in St. John's, Newfoundland. And then I think the team's going to Japan. I might take that one off because at some point, yeah, it's different when you got, but yeah, then we have like the Duluth cash spiel, and then it's Christmas. So I got all that travel to look forward to before Christmas.
Well, but before all of that, Duluth FC travels to Des Moines to get into the playoffs, and you're taking on the number 2 seed.
No, we're in them. This is the regional semifinals, man.
It's the number 2 and the number 3 in the Midwest region. You're in the semifinal. You're the 3 seed going to Des Moines United to take on the 2 seed Des Moines United out of the Gateway. So you're leaving, what, 5 o'clock this afternoon?
I'm not. The team's leaving 5 o'clock this afternoon. I'm driving down tomorrow at noon. So, but yeah.
And how many of the members of the family are going with you?
I think it's just me and the wife because my kids both have baseball tomorrow night, and so my mom's going to come down here and shuttle them around, and it's myself and my wife and a couple other host people, and then actually our number 6 midfielder, who is this kid from Guatemala that if that kid doesn't get drafted when he's done with college and done with whatever, there's people don't watch soccer because he's an absolute dog. But his father actually traveled in from Guatemala to watch, and he's going to hop into our into the van and ride down there with us as well. So it should be kind of fun. I always really look forward to those, interactions with folks, especially people who are, tied to somebody close to us. And according to Andreas, his dad's English is like, just very, very basic. So I love trying to connect and having those challenging conversations with people of other speaking dialects and that kind of thing. So yeah, it should be a fun trip down there.
All right. So then since you've teased us, let us know who this player is so we can all sit there and watch Duluth and go, okay, make that kid an offer and get him to a better place. Who are you talking about here?
His name is Andreas Solaris. And he's already been, kind of like picked out from like the Guatemalan national team. And he played at Christian Brothers down in Memphis. And he actually is transferring this year and for grad school and playing his final season at CSU Pueblo over in which is the 2-time runner-up to the Division II. So, which one of our center backs who played with us for the first half of this season and last season plays there as well. So, yeah, he's definitely somebody to watch, like moving into the future because he's got a bright future ahead of him. So,
yep. So Duluth FC heading to Des Moines, number 3 versus number 2 in the regional semifinals. That is tomorrow. John Shuster, one of the busiest men on the planet.
No chance.
Oh, come on. Globetrotter.
I'm a stay-at-home dad, man, that does some, soccer ownership on the side. I'm good.
Dude, you're dealing with your family. You got to make sure that all of the youngins are in the right place at the right time. You've got to make sure that your team is in the right place at the right time. You got to make sure that the team is in the playoffs, that they're getting to Des Moines, that they're possibly getting to Pittsburgh, that you are and you got your winter tour coming up where you might be home sometime between now and 2025. Nah, you're not busy at all, man. Come on.
Well, this is downtime. This is downtime. My wife is the busiest. I see. If my wife were to watch us and be like, "Yeah, you called him the busiest," no, she would be like, "Yeah, right, buddy." Look at my life and tell me he's busy.
Oh goodness! And he's busted out he's got the peacock coffee mug and everything. He's ready to go.
Oh yeah, it's Olympic season. It's Olympic season. It's coming up, so
no doubt. So he's making sure that everybody knows that the Peacock is the place to be, watching everything in Paris. But we're watching things going on in Des Moines tomorrow. It's great to catch up with you, my friend. It's been entirely too long. And just be safe, get down to Des Moines, have a great match. And then as the MLS season continues and we get closer to you globetrotting perhaps, we'll see if we can track you down and we'll talk about Minnesota United. Anything else on your mind? And shoot, you want to come in and co-host, you can come in and co-host. It's all good.
Well, if we go out and put up a good performance and dominating performance tomorrow, I'm going to be begging to be back here on Friday.
Ain't no begging, brother.
I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, it's a ritual. It is not. It's not superstition. It's ritual, because if you have success, and then you win, and then you continue playing. Let's see, Friday. Friday, you want to come in once again, 10 o'clock hour? You can do that.
All right. Well, we win Wednesday, and you can bank on me sending you an email and getting back in here on Friday.
You got it, brother. Be safe, and great to catch up with you. Great to see you. And as always, as you well know, once again, Duluth FC here in Office HD. As always, great to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, John.
All right. Wow. That's so cool to have him on. I mean, just to find out about the ownership thing and all of that, but yeah, just to see how things are growing. But you never know where your friendships and your relationships come from. And when I was explaining to folks about, that this might happen, that, you might have, John Shuster coming on the show. They're like, what? Really? How? And so then you explain the whole Duluth FC thing, and they're like, oh, I get it. But it's been fun to see. It's been fun to see Shusty sit there and be a part of the birth of Duluth FC and kind of walk along with this with him. And so it's been fun to have him on the show occasionally and talk Minnesota United, where he can run a little smack and all that kind of stuff. So Duluth FC heading to Des Moines, regional semifinals. That is tomorrow. Teams leaving today after practice, I guess. Semifinal, Des Moines United FC out of the Gateway, number 3 seed Duluth FC out of the North. And so if they win, it's heading to Steel City FC on Saturday. So literally, they win on Wednesday. They got to figure out, as John was saying, how to get from the Midwest to Pittsburgh and do that for the weekend. So he's got his homework, but it's always great to catch up with him and see what's going on in the multitasking life of John Shuster. So that's Shusty on Instagram, Shusty with 2 O's, STIE 2010, I think, on the 280 character app. So it's always fun to catch up with him. And yes, as always, if you win, you can come back. Even if you lose, you can come back. But it's always fun to catch up with him. Yeah, Rich, I saw that, and that was Stupidity down here. We got a lot of stupidity down here. So since Rich has mentioned this, and it comes from Como 1907, and they had a friendly versus Wolves. Mirwan Sawarso, the official representative of the ownership group, put out a statement. Quote, our club does not, and this is Stupidity down here for a Tuesday. Our club does not tolerate racism and condemns all forms of it in the strongest possible way. We spoke to the defender in question to understand what was said. He has told us the comment he made to his co-defender was, quote, ignore him, he thinks he's Jackie Chan, end quote. Having spoken to our player at length, we are confident this was in reference to the player's name and to the constant references of Channy made by his own teammates on the pitch. As far as our club is concerned, our player did not say anything in a derogatory manner. We are disappointed that the reaction of certain Wolves players has seen the incident blown out of proportion. And so that is the response from Como 1907. And the story comes after Daniel Podence punched a Como 1907 player after alleged racism towards Wang Hee-chan, and the Wolves are submitting a formal complaint to UEFA. The training match, which was played out in Spain, was stopped with Podence given a straight red for throwing a punch at the defender. In the aftermath, took place midway through the second half, with Wolves boss Gary O'Neill saying he asked Huang if he wanted to abandon the game. The 28-year-old declined, with his side going on to win 1-0. And the club's statement. Unfortunately, midway through the second half, Wong reported he'd heard a racist remark from a Como player, which led to altercations in the center circle and ultimately a red card for Podence. Head coach Gary O'Neill said that Wong has the full support of the Wolves group after he reported a racist remark in the preseason match with Como 1907. Midway through the second half, the attacker reported the incident, which led to angry reactions of his teammates, resulting in the dismissal of Daniel Podence. Immediately following the incident, O'Neill spoke to Huang and offered him the opportunity to abandon. However, the South Korean was determined to continue and play out the 90 minutes. O'Neill said, quote, Channing heard a racist remark, which is really disappointing. I spoke to Channing about it, checked whether he wanted to take the team off or come off himself, but he was keen. The team carried on and got the work they needed. It's really disappointing that it happened, that we have to talk about it, and that it impacted the game. Not ideal, and things like that shouldn't be around. He's really disappointed, of course, O'Neill continues. And understandably, I'm proud of the fact that he wanted to carry on and put his team first in a difficult moment for him. He knew it was a preseason trip, and he wanted the lads to work and get their minutes. Even though he'd suffered something hugely offensive, Channy will be okay. He'll get our full support. We'll pick him up in the morning and make sure he's okay. It's a together group. Of course, there's ways to handle that, and we don't want to leave ourselves short on the pitch, but it's a together group. We've worked really hard this week, had a good week, had some great moments in the game, but it's an unfortunate incident we have to deal with and have to discuss when ideally we'd be talking about the game. Of course, when an incident like that happens in a game, it's the first thing we discuss. Racism or discrimination in any form is completely unacceptable, should never be left unchallenged, and Wolves will be submitting a formal complaint to UEFA regarding the incident. And then Como 1907 had their response. Beat 2, 3, 4. UEFA's statement, fairly boilerplate. 3 sentences. In 2022, Wolves said they were very disappointed when Wong also suffered discriminatory abuse from FC Firenze fans in a preseason friendly. So, Como 1907 probably should work on their thought pattern there. Just saying. I don't know. That's just me thinking out loud. And, yeah. That is, if you were to have a course on public relations and response and crisis management, this would be probably something that you would use in the class about how not to respond in a crisis management situation. That's probably not what Como 1907 needed to say. And I'm kind of holding back a little bit, obviously. But, yeah, that was the response from Como 1907 after what happened yesterday involving Wolves, Daniel Podence, and their winger Huang. So that was not how you needed to do things. This can be a situation where a crisis management class can learn from Como 1907. Unfortunately, Como 1907 decided to have that as a response. Sure. Speaking of crisis management and response, let's go back to our friends at CONMEBOL, shall we? And it appears that they are now more than happy to sit there and just not blame themselves. You know, it's just nope. So you end up with CONMEBOL issuing a statement after what happened. They finally, literally, it was what, 18 hours? Let's see, today's Tuesday, so 12 hours to 18 hours after the fact of when they needed to address something. So the response from CONMEBOL to what happened at Hard Rock for the Copa America final. Here's how they lay it all out. CONMEBOL was subject to the decisions made by Hard Rock Stadium authorities in accordance with contractual responsibilities established for security. CONMEBOL recommended 2 said authorities' procedures tested in events of this magnitude, which were not taken into account. So CONMEBOL basically is laying blame at Hard Rock. They also finished up their 6 paragraphs by saying, we regret that the acts of violence caused by malicious people had tarnished a final that was ready to be a great sporting celebration. So CONMEBOL is basically blaming Hard Rock for all of this, when basically everyone has said that CONMEBOL were the ones that were in charge of the security idea, detail, depth, however you want to phrase it. So CONMEBOL has come out with a statement laying blame entirely at Hard Rock. And that CONMEBOL, even though apparently they had 100% autonomy over the logistics and figuring out, yeah, we want this, we want this, we want this, they're now throwing blame at Hard Rock. Remember what we said yesterday about the conversations that we thought Stephen Ross would be having with CONMEBOL? When the show started yesterday morning at 9:06. Forgot we were on Turner time for a second. At 9:06 yesterday morning, what do you think the conversations were like with Stephen Ross and CONMEBOL? And then CONMEBOL puts out that statement, and Stephen Ross calls them back and goes, bruh, what in the wide world of sports are you thinking? Legitimately, what is going on in your brain? I don't know if it was that, how do we phrase it? That G-rated. I imagine that Stephen Ross picked up the phone, called CONMEBOL after the initial 901 conversation. Hey, look at this. What are you going to do about it? Then CONMEBOL decides to go to Hard Rock and go, no, it's them. CONMEBOL saying, it was on them. What do you want to bet the conversations were like after that second phone call? It's like, Stephen Ross on line 1, sir. Stephen Ross on line 1. Oh, tell him I'm in a meeting. So you have all of this going on now with CONMEBOL and Hard Rock Stadium. Just saying. Like I said, just saying. You want to talk about frustration and stupidity? That's it. That is a shining example of it right there. Shining example about what's going on. Yeah, so there's that this morning. In addition to everything that we were discussing involving Gareth Southgate and our friends at our friends at CONMEBOL. You know, there are just some things where you can sit there and you go, you know, and not to be outdone. One of the heads of the Colombian Football Federation, and let me spell it correctly here, Ramon Jesurun, according to our friends at Reuters, the 71-year-old head of the Colombian Soccer Federation and his son were arrested in Miami, I think along with 25 others. And there is video out there. accused of fighting security guards after the Copa America final. Videos on social media once again showed security scuffling with fans, trying to breach the gates. Ramon Jesurun, the federation president, and his 43-year-old son, Ramon Jamil, were arrested after an altercation at the stadium shortly after midnight, according to arrest reports by Miami police, which charged both men with battery. Jesurun and his son were charged after fighting security guards in a tunnel where media were gathering in the aftermath of the match, according to police reports. This included a uniformed security guard tasked with holding back the crowd. According to police, Jesurun's son grabbed the guard by the neck, pulled him to the ground where he punched him and kicked him in the head. The Colombian Soccer Federation declined comment, obviously. More than 24 fans arrested at Sunday's Copa America final, and over 50 people were kicked out of the venue, at which over 800 law enforcement officers were present. In a statement Monday, Hard Rock said it had prepared for the match by increasing the number of law enforcement officers and security with, quote, more than double the personnel than a typical at-capacity stadium event. After gates were closed and reopened, the venue said, quote, fans continued to engage in illegal conduct, fighting police officers, breaking down walls and barricades, vandalizing the stadium, causing significant damage to property. Stadium capacity of over 65,000, once again set to host 7 matches at the 2026 World Cup. So you had that going on also, with everything involving the Copa America final. All of that. And so this morning, Michelle Kaufman at Messi and Friends practice, according to Tata Martino this morning, said that Messi will miss at least the next 2 Messi and Friends matches. Pair of home games Wednesday against Toronto and Chicago on Saturday. After his ankle looked like one of those donuts that you wrapped around a baseball bat in the on-deck circle. Understandable. So, now what that obviously also means, keep an eye on him for the All-Star game. Maybe he just does skills challenge, doesn't participate, sits on the bench, maybe does a cameo at the end. Keep an eye on that. Tata said, Leo's ankle is, well, you all saw the images. Yeah, we did. He had a sprain. There'll be further testing to determine the gravity of the injury. According to Kaufman, when Tata was asked if he thought it was a serious long-term injury, Tata said, quote, no, I don't want to speculate further, but he had a sprain. He has to have more tests and wait for the results. Our kinesiologist is the same one used by the Argentine national team. Always very cautious in his diagnoses until all the testing is done. So, Messi out for the next 2. He had a groin strain earlier in the tournament, missed the group stage match against Peru. Tata was also asked to evaluate how the Argentine national team coaching staff managed Messi's injuries. Quote, quote, and got edited. Luis Suarez is available after playing for Uruguay in the Copa. He returned to training on Monday. Benja Cremaschi is in France with the U.S. national team for the Paris Olympics, going to miss the next few Miami matches. Diego Gomez traveling to the Olympics for Paraguay, so he'll be available for the match against Toronto. Messi and Friends playing at home for the first time since June 19th, so basically a month almost, after being on the road for Nashville, Charlotte, and Cincy. And now they're in second place in the Eastern Conference. So no Messi for the next 2 matches. So it's just going to end up being and Friends when it comes to what we're seeing. And Tom, to your point, doubling obviously wasn't enough, but probably not the root of the problem. True. I think it's safe to say that the root of the issue once again, was who was in control. And according to CONMEBOL, it was Hard Rock. According to practically every other reporter that was there, it was CONMEBOL. But CONMEBOL passes the buck over here, says it's the stadium. CONMEBOL in charge of everything. And we've had conversations here with folks in our Twitch pitch where when it came to that first match, it was divulged that CONMEBOL wasn't interested in, any kind of conversations. It's just going to be what we do. We're not going to consult. Here's our thing. Guarantee you for the Club World Cup and for the World Cup in 25 and 26, the perimeter that is going to be around these venues will be FIFA controlled. And you're probably going to end up with what? 2 or 3 separate security rings that you've got to pass through to get into these events? Just guessing. You work your way through it. You go through round number 1. Here comes round number 2. And round number 2 begets round number 3, and you might be in the building by that point. Clear bag policy. You got to make sure that your QR codes work. All of that stuff. So you've got all of that to keep an eye on going forward. All of that. Very, very interesting stuff going forward for how venues handle security, especially with what happened at the tail end of the tournament for the Copa America A in Charlotte, with the seating arrangement that was there for that match. And then what happened in Miami. Ask anybody outside of one particular organization who was supposed to be responsible for it all, they're all going to be pointing in one direction. That individual that they're all pointing at everybody else. So it's like the Spider-Man gif that we see where Spidey's pointing at himself, although it's not quite as effective. That will be the fun part of all of this. How many folks from the non-CONMEBOL side will come forward and sit there and say, no, that was not how this went. That was not how this went. So we'll see what the ideas are. Yes, absolutely true. Wiley, great reference. The family circus with the invisible not me characters. Who broke that? Not me. You're pointing off to the side. Absolutely true. And from our friends at Agence France Presse, to add to stupidity down here, where there seems to be a lot. It's like we've gone through the weekend of all of the tournaments and everything, and now we're back into the swing of things for the week. Episode 3, stupidity down here. The French Football Federation plans to complain to FIFA about racist chants from members of Argentina's Copa America winning team. Chants were heard during a live video posted on social media by Chelsea and Argentina midfielder Enzo Fernandez from the team bus in the wake of the Copa victory over Colombia. Some players, including Fernandez, sing a chant that dates back to the 2022 World Cup final that Argentina won against France that targets France's star striker Kylian Mbappe and includes homophobic insults. A source close to the Triple F told AFP on Tuesday that the French body plans to write to the Argentinian Football Federation and refer to the matter to FIFA. 2 years ago, the Triple F also filed a complaint against racist comments on social media. Mbappe was unveiled as the new Real Madrid signing at a packed stadium. So he is now officially official when it comes to being the man, capital T, capital M. But yes, Wiley, fantastic reference. The invisible, who is it? Oh, what's the family and family circus? I can't remember the young kid's name that always was the one that was pointing at the invisibles. I can't remember Wiley, help me out. So who was the youngest son that would always point at the invisible person that would cause the problems? Because I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen Family Circus as a cartoon. I can't remember the family name. So there's that. The other stuff that we were kind of getting into yesterday a little bit, and it's not good news. Billy, thank you, Billy. It's not good news if you are a fan of the French game and Ligue 1 specifically. And it's not good news for Bordeaux. Our friends at Calcio e Finanza and Bordeaux had a statement this morning as well. Fenway Sports Group is withdrawing from negotiations to acquire the club. The French club, meaning Bordeaux, they went public on the 280-character app this morning to discuss it. They're close to appealing their relegation to the third division. The French Federation basically demoted them because they were worried about their finances. They sent them to the third division. And so they had a 2-week window, meaning Bordeaux, to try and find an owner that would keep them in Ligue 2. So I guess it would be Ligue 3. But right now they're in Ligue 2 after a relegation. But the French Federation was sending them to Ligue 3, for lack of a better place, because of their financial status. Fenway was kicking the tires on Bordeaux. And as it turns out, Fenway came out this morning and Bordeaux said on social media that it's not happening. So it could mean that Bordeaux ends up in the third division in France. And you had 2 weeks to sit there and tell the French Federation, well, no, we have a buyer, everything's cool, we're going to be okay in the second division in Ligue 2. Apparently that's not going to be the case. Bordeaux says, Bordeaux and its shareholders have been informed by Fenway Sports Group of their desire not to pursue negotiations initiated in recent weeks for the purchase of the club. This decision is explained in particular by the significant cost of the stadium in the years to come, but also by the general economic context of French football. FC Girondins de Bordeaux and Gerard Lopez thank FSG for the interest shown in the club and its teams for having traveled to meet its stakeholders. Provisionally relegated to National 1. So it's not Ligue 3, it's National 1. By the French Football Financial Watchdog, DNCG, after failing to provide guarantees for this year. They now have a week to get a sale together that will allow it to remain in Ligue 2. Club statement concludes the club and its shareholders are now putting all their energy into finalizing a financing plan for 24-25 in preparation for the appeal hearing. We also mentioned that as many as 8 teams currently in Ligue 1 could be facing bankruptcy if there was no TV deal. And it appears that there might be a TV deal in place that will help things out for the league and those teams. 8 teams could be in serious trouble if you don't have a TV deal. And the LFP could be in serious trouble. Once again, we always mention how if you have more than one reporter on a story, it's bad news. Burroughs and Slater at The Athletic saying that sources are telling them it's a national scandal. Failure to sell domestic broadcast rights to Ligue 1, which starts in just over a month. Many clubs who rely on broadcast revenue to stay afloat, fearing for their futures. Some have struggled to gain access to bank lending because of the situation. Transfer market plans have been put on hold. Jean-Michel Roussier, president of Le Havre, It's worrying. He says, we are sure of nothing. We must hope for a miracle. And it looks like, according to Sports Pro Media, DAZN and beIN is going to have a deal less than the previous contract with Amazon and Canal Plus. From Steve McCaskill, $500 million a year until 2029. Details of the 5-year deal still to be finalized according to AFP, but Ligue 1 clubs have broadly agreed to the proposal in principle. DAZN broadcasting 8 matches per round, beIN showing the remaining in a primetime slot. Contract also purportedly includes an exit clause for DAZN and the LFP in 2027. When combined with the €40 million beIN is paying for Ligue 2 and the $160 million the LFP is going to get for overseas rights, French clubs are going to share €700 million for the next 2 years. Significantly less than the stated target of at least €1 billion that they set last year. How bad was it? The governing body scrapped a formal auction last October after getting a satisfactory bid and have been negotiating with potential partners ever since. Value of the deal is also lower than LFP's previous arrangements for Ligue 1. Amazon paid $300 million a year. Canal Plus a sub-licensing deal with beIN for $360. beIN held international rights at $76.4. Amazon's cut price deal was the result of the collapse of the previous agreement with MediaPro. If there had not been a deal, the LFP had been prepared to launch a direct-to-consumer streaming service. You might be able to get 2 million subscribers, according to Sports Pro Media. But you're now getting a television contract that is 30% less in revenue than what you had previously. And DAZN could be out after 2 years. Tom's like, hey, if one rich dude or dudette wants to have a fun pet project and funds everything themselves, then by all means, go for it. And Shooter, once we were mentioning Fenway Sports Group, Shooter, welcome back, Shooter, by the way. Good to see you in the Twitch pitch. Not happy with John Henry. Not happy with Fenway Sports Group. And so that's where Tom's discussion was with Shooter about what's going on with Kraft and the new stadium that got the okey doke to be a lot closer to downtown Boston than the one that's currently in Foxborough. So that's where you're standing right now. But yeah, Ligue 1, if you didn't have a TV deal, you could have as many as 8 clubs that could have gone bankrupt. But you've got a deal now, apparently. They've still got to sign it. You're a month away from the season starting. But right now it would be at 30% less than the deal that you currently had. So that's what that league is looking at. And so, with the transfer window coming up, as you look at things, if you're looking for distressed assets, that might be a place to go. That might be a place to go. Also at the Euro, the Gibraltar government and the FA criticized Spain's player chance at a Euro 2024 party. Morata and Rodri said that Gibraltar is Spanish. From Sam Jones in Madrid. The government calls remarks rancid, and the FA is going to involve UEFA now. The Gibraltar government criticized the rancid remarks members of Spain's side made at a victory rally. Controversy erupted after Morata and Rodri chanted Gibraltar es Español while on the stage. When Morata reminded Rodri he played for an English side, Manchester City, the latter replied, I don't care. Yes, it was rancid. Absolutely. That is an interesting choice of words. quoting our friends at The Guardian, the behavior elicited a swift and angry response from the government of Gibraltar, which lies at the southern tip of the Iberian Peninsula and has been in British hands since 1713. Quote, His Majesty's government of Gibraltar is disappointed to note that several players of the Spanish male national football team celebrated their European Cup win with chants of rancid remarks about Gibraltar. So the government of Gibraltar were the ones, Tom, that used the word rancid. The Gibraltar FA described the chants as extremely provocative and insulting and said it would be making an official complaint to UEFA. It said football has no place for behavior of this nature. Players' actions were endorsed by some conservative and far-right politicians. Madrid's conservative mayor, Jose Luis Martinez Almeida, said the players didn't say anything that most Spaniards don't believe. When the team received by Spain's socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez at the Moncloa Palace in Madrid, Danny Carvajal is said to have made a point by looking away from the PM as he briefly shook his hand. The move was applauded on far-right social media accounts, one commentator saying Carvajal was a chant for blanking Sanchez. Being a good Spaniard is incompatible with supporting a traitor to Spain. So it's politics down here with Morata and Rodri chanting Gibraltar is Spanish in front of a massive crowd. Totally unnecessary mixing of great sporting success with discriminatory political statements that are hugely offensive to Gibraltarians. So the Gibraltar government used the word rancid in a statement and looks like they're going to be talking to UEFA about it. I don't know, legitimately, I don't know what UEFA can do. I'm going to say, I'm thinking out loud. I have no earthly idea what they can do. Like I said, I'm just thinking out loud. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and stuff to watch and where to watch it. Once again, the layout for the week. It's a match week tomorrow. Tyler joining us at 9. If we can track down the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler. Hopefully he can join us at 10. We'll see if Jason can join us at 10:30 on a match day to talk about Atlanta United and NYC. Thursday, I think we're going to be catching up with our friends at North Carolina Courage either on Thursday or Friday as they host the national championship. Colorado Storm coming over to Cary to take them on in the USLW final. We'll catch up with Coach Willie Davis on air and with some of the players in a separate broadcast that you can catch on, on the SDH app. Sorry about that. Nino and Nico, 10 and 10:30 on Thursday. Nino Torres to talk everything Copa and everything else on his mind. Nico Moreno joining us to talk about Copa and to talk about Major League Soccer to wrap up the show on Thursday. Friday morning, like I said, John Shuster's already threatened us. John Shuster is saying that if they win on Wednesday, he's coming back in on Friday as they're on their way to Pittsburgh. So if they beat Des Moines, he's going to be on the show. And I am extremely remiss in not having Shusty on the show more than just every once in a while when his name pops up in my brain. Oh, Duluth FC, let's talk to John Shuster. So, but see if we can get Jason in at 10:30. We've got Whip Around in the show as well. Hopefully catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring. And I know somewhere in there we're probably going to track down some more playoff stuff as well. So it's very, very busy playoff stuff across the board right now in the summer of soccer. And it's always been fun to catch up with folks across all the divisions and see what's going on with a lot of our favorite folks and a lot of our favorite players. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Manchester United have asked about Jonathan Tah with Bayern Munich, having failed to reach an agreement with Bayer Leverkusen to sign the 28-year-old. Galatasaray in talks to sign Scott McTominay. Liverpool and Atletico Madrid interested in RB Leipzig's defender Mohamed Simakan. That's from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. Morata set to join AC Milan on a 4-year deal from Atletico Madrid. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester City in advanced talks to sign Dani Olmo from RB Leipzig. Bayern Munich also interested in Olmo, who scored 3 goals during the Euro. Spain international Mikel Merino is one of the options Barca are considering for their midfield, with the 28-year-old having a year left on his Real Sociedad deal. Arsenal also planning to make a move for Merino, who had a spell at Newcastle United before returning to Spain. Newcastle United set to rival Everton and trying to sign Wilfred Gnonto from Leeds. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is close to joining Al Qadsiya in the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. And Southampton have agreed a deal upwards to £18 million to sign English midfielder Flynn Downs from West Ham. So that's what's been going on with the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it today. We did have a couple of friendlies on yesterday. It was a pretty light schedule. I would also remind you to check out our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. A lot of league play is going on. You've got Libertadores, Sudamericana. You've got Argentina. A lot of the South American leagues are going on. Our buddy Nino Torres was calling the beginning of the Ecuadorian season this past week. He had Danubio and Nacional 6-0 match. We'll talk to him about that when he shows up on Thursday. Today, Sudamericana. Tonight on BN. Simulcast on BN and Espanol. Huachipato and Racing at 6. Rosario Central and Internacional at 8:30. Women's Euro 2025 qualifying on CBS Sports Network at 1 o'clock with Spain and Belgium. Liga MX at 11 o'clock tonight on 2 to NA. It is Pachuca and Atletico San Luis. Maybe we get a Johnny Vial sighting as in addition to maybe a Jurgen Damm sighting. Universo has the women's friendly USA and Costa Rica at 7:30. USL League One has a match in the early part of the week. Tuesday, USL League One match. On the plus, it's Chattanooga and Charlotte. Golazo Network has Sweden and England at 1 o'clock in Women's Euro 2025 qualifying. Max is simulcasting USA and Costa Rica at 7:30. Paramount Plus, very, very busy. Argentine Primera, Belgrano and San Lorenzo at 1. Gimnasia La Plata, Boca Juniors at 3:30. Lanús and Bonfield is at 6. Scottish League Cup is at 2:45. Jarrett's probably going to be watching that. It's Hibs and Queens Park. Peacock has USA and Costa Rica also on the simulcast at 7:30 tonight. So women's friendly, USA and Costa Rica, and that is probably the larger news tonight. U17 women's national team beat Brazil 3-1 in tune-up, prepping for the 24 U17 Women's World Cup. And that was played at the Fraction, as a matter of fact. Down 1-0 to come back to win the second match. Kennedy Fuller scored a goal in the 73rd. Mary Long won the match with 2 late goals. Played to a 1-1 tie in the first of the U20s friendlies in Athens. Pietra Tordine from Princeton scored the U.S. goal on the U20 side. So it's been very, very busy time here with national teams and getting reps here in the state of Georgia. Get used to it. There's going to be a lot more action going on when it comes to the younger squads, the youth national teams, and seeing what it's going to line up to look like. Very, very cool stuff to have action in Athens, action in Kennesaw, dealing with youth national teams as they do their friendlies and get ready for their competition. So obviously very, very cool stuff there as well. Checking the wires and seeing if there's anything else that was missed before we get out of here on a Tuesday. And once again, thanks to Carlos Rubio, the head coach at Hickory FC. Thanks to Brett Teach, the head coach at Columbus United, as they get ready to play each other tomorrow at Hickory in the NPSL playoffs. And as always, it's great to catch up with our buddy John Shuster at Shusty 2010 on the 280 character app, part owner in Duluth FC, and all around good dude. It's when you have curling down here, it's always very, very it's cool to talk to Shusty about stuff. Yeah, Tom, what are you going to do? You're going to send Spain a stern letter? Yeah, basically, don't you do that. Don't you have your players say that. UEFA wags an index finger at them. Eric Giggle, we're all over the place. And welcome, by the way. Eric Giggle is this MLS stuff. It is at times. We go all over the board. Lower divisions, MLS, NWSL, national team stuff, international competitions. We're here every morning, 9:05 to 11:05 Eastern time in the United States. So, Eric Giggle, welcome to what's going on. And we'll see. Eric Giggle, don't be a stranger. Emilio's like, unless we add players, meaning Atlanta United, not much to talk about as far as the game itself. I would disagree. but you are also one match away from adding Pedro Amador to the left-hand side. So I don't know how many minutes you would end up with Amador on Saturday against Columbus. Probably a cameo, probably a second half, maybe get 30 minutes in just before the All-Star break, just to kind of get the engine turned over and see how things are for Pedro Amador when it comes to Major League Soccer. And so the acquisition for Atlanta United, remember, Thursday is the opening of the transfer window. It's going to be crazy. Just figured I would tell you that right now. It's going to be crazy in general. Intriguing for Atlanta United on a bunch of different levels. But it's going to be crazy on a lot of different levels. Intriguing, crazy, choice to all the above. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. The secondary transfer window opens up on Thursday after the match against NYC at Atlanta United and Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Wednesday. And so that gets us through yet another go-around of soccer down here. Once again, thanks to all of our guests from Hickory FC, Carlos Rubio, Columbus United, Brett Teach, Duluth FC, John Shuster, gold medal winning curler, bronze medalist as well, all-around good dude, and part of the brain trust at Duluth FC as they travel to Des Moines in the NPSL playoffs. That's how curling and soccer unite here on SDH. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning at 9:05, back in a little less than 22. Get you ready for Atlanta United NYC. The rest of the midweek, probably a midweek whip around in there in hour number 2 someplace. And we'll let you know what's on everybody's mind and your mind as well as we get ready for playoffs in lower divisions, Atlanta United and Major League Soccer in a double match week. Set your fantasy teams appropriately, and we'll discuss it again tomorrow. So for everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by for another go-round of soccer down here. Back at it in a little less than 22, and so that means that I've got to find the closing billboard and whistle us to a close. Mucha platiel, play it safe, and be back at it tomorrow.